stop what you are doing, not in a moment, not after this sentence. Right now, place one hand over your chest. Feel your heartbeat. Feel the warmth of your own skin against your palm. Feel the quiet, steady rhythm that has kept you alive through every season of your life. Through every night you were not sure you would survive. Through every morning that arrived when you had almost stopped expecting it. Now I need you to listen very carefully to what I am about to tell you, because what you are holding in your chest right now is not just a heartbeat. It is evidence, it is proof. It is a living signal broadcasting something that the world around you is already beginning to notice, even before you have fully recognized it yourself. There is something happening to your physical body that has no medical category, no scientific classification, and no rational framework capable of containing it. People who have not seen you in months are stopping mid-sentence when they encounter you again. Strangers are holding their gaze a second longer than social norms require. People who once dismissed you are circling back with a look in their eyes that falls somewhere between confusion and recognition. And you have felt it. You have sensed something shifting in how the world responds to your presence. You just have not had the language to describe what is actually happening. I am going to give you that language today. But before we go there, I want to share something with you. This message exists because someone somewhere decided that certain truths are worth protecting and worth passing forward. If what you hear in this video reaches you at the right moment, if it gives you language for something you have been carrying without words, then this transmission has served its purpose. But first, let us get into what brought you here. Subscribe to this channel right now and turn on every notification, because what I am about to share with you is the kind of understanding that most people will live their entire lives without accessing. And if you have recently noticed that something about the way people respond to you has quietly, unexpectedly shifted, type 777 in the comments right now. You will understand why that number matters before this video ends. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site, you are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give, and it will be given to you, is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose, join the conversation, and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today, join our community, and see what God brings back into your life. Here is something that will land differently depending on where you are in your journey. There are people in your life right now who expected to see you broken. They anticipated finding evidence of damage. They braced themselves for the visible marks that years of pressure, seasons of loss, and stretches of silence are supposed to leave on a human face and body. They constructed a mental image of what you should look like by now, given everything you have walked through. And that image was not flattering. But when they actually see you, something happens that they cannot reconcile. You look rested when you should look exhausted. You look clear when you should look clouded. You look present when you should look distant. You look, and there is no other word for it, younger than the last time they saw you. And this is not a small observation they quietly file away and forget. This lands in them like a disruption, like something that refuses to sit still in their understanding, like evidence of something they are not equipped to explain. So they do what people do when they encounter something they cannot explain. They reach for questions disguised as compliments. They say things like, "You look incredible. What are you doing differently?" Or, "I cannot believe how young you look. What is your secret?" Or they say nothing at all and simply stare a moment longer than feels comfortable. Because what they are processing is not just your appearance. They are processing the fact that you are somehow exempt from a law they believed applied to everyone equally. The law they believed in says this: time takes from everyone, pressure ages every face, accumulated years leave accumulated marks. What goes in must eventually show on the outside, and you are standing in front of them as a living contradiction of that law. But here is what neither they nor you may fully understand yet. What they are observing is not the result of a new skincare routine. It is not the effect of better sleep, or improved hydration, or a change in diet. Though those things may be present, what is radiating from you, in ways that stop people mid-sentence, is the outward manifestation of an inward process that began long before you started noticing its effects. A process that has been building in silence, accumulating momentum, and is only now reaching the level of visibility, where the people around you can no longer miss it. This process has a name and understanding. That name changes everything about how you move through the world from this point forward. I want to tell you about a woman named Sarah. She was 43 years old and sitting across from her college roommate at a coffee shop after 11 years without seeing each other. Her roommate had prepared herself emotionally for this reunion. She knew what Sarah had been through, the marriage that ended without warning, the years of rebuilding a life from fragments, the financial collapse that came immediately after, the kind that forces you to relearn the meaning of starting over, the grief that arrived in layers, one loss stacked quietly on top of another. Her roommate had prepared to be kind about how Sarah looked, but when Sarah sat down across from her roommate actually stopped breathing for a moment, because the woman sitting in front of her did not look like someone who had survived all of that. She looked like someone who had been renewed by it. Her skin was luminous in a way that had nothing to do with makeup. Her eyes held a depth and a stillness that made her seem ageless in the most literal sense. And there was something in her energy, in the way she occupied space, that felt sacred in a way her roommate could not name, but absolutely could feel. Her roommate finally said, "I do not understand what has happened to you. You look more alive than when we were 22. Sarah smiled and said something simple. She said, "I stopped fighting the seasons and started trusting the one who designed them." This is the beginning of the truth. I need you to understand. What is manifesting in your physical form right now is not random. It is not genetic luck. It is not the accidental result of good habits. Though your habits matter deeply, what is happening to your appearance, to your energy, to the quality of light that people notice in you before they can articulate why is the physical evidence of a spiritual process that divine intelligence activated in you during the hardest chapters of your story. Think about it carefully for a moment. Think about the period in your life when everything seemed to be collapsing simultaneously, when circumstances that should have permanently destroyed your capacity for joy somehow did not destroy you. When you faced the kind of pressure that leaves most people permanently diminished, and you chose again and again, often without witnesses, often without applause, to remain intact, to remain honest, to remain soft in places where hardness would have been far more practical, to continue tending to yourself as something sacred when every external signal was telling you that you were not worth tending to. Those choices were not invisible. They were being recorded by forces operating in dimensions beyond what the eye can see. Every morning you chose to rise and face the day with intention rather than dread. Every evening you rested with a clear conscience, even when the world was offering you 100 compromises that would have made sleep easier in the short term. Every moment you chose alignment over convenience, integrity over ease, long-term health over immediate gratification. Each of those moments was evidence being filed, catalogued, and ultimately used to qualify you for something that very few individuals will ever experience in a human lifetime. A decree was issued over your physical body, not a suggestion, not a possibility, an official, irrevocable decree stating that your cellular structure would be maintained beyond natural timelines, restored rather than degraded, renewed rather than depleted, because the evidence of your character proved you were worthy of carrying visible divine favor into the world. And that decree is what people are seeing when they look at you and cannot explain what they see. Most people, if they are fortunate, experience what I would call standard preservation. Their health is basically maintained. Their aging follows a predictable ordinary trajectory. They live normal biological lives, and at the end of those lives, they look exactly as their years would suggest they should look. There is nothing wrong with this. It is simply the default experience of a human body moving through chronological time. But you have been relocated out of the default category. The classification you now operate within is reserved for individuals being prepared for assignments that require something beyond normal human capacity. These are not small assignments. These are not assignments that can be fulfilled in a single season or a comfortable decade. These are missions that demand sustained energy across timelines that would exhaust anyone operating on standard biological reserves. And the preservation you are being given is not cosmetic. It is functional. It is your body being kept at a level of vitality that matches the scope of what is coming. Here is how I can confirm this is happening in your specific case right now. Think about the last time you looked at a photograph of yourself from 5 years ago, perhaps longer. What was your honest reaction? Because most people look at old photographs and feel a quiet sadness at how much younger they used to look. But when you looked at those images, something unusual likely happened. You noticed that the person in that photograph actually looked more tired than you do today, more stressed, more burdened, older somehow, despite the fact that less chronological time had passed when the image was taken. That is not imagination. That is not wishful self-perception. That is reverse aging operating through divine preservation. That is biological time being quietly overridden by a process that answers to a different set of instructions entirely. hit the like button right now if you have experienced exactly this when looking at old photographs, because you need to know that you are not alone in this experience. There are others watching this right now who had the same reaction to those images, who felt the same confusion and quiet wonder, who are only now beginning to understand what that reversal actually means. What it means is this: you are not simply aging well. You are not simply taking good care of yourself, though you are. You are physically demonstrating that spiritual alignment produces results that manifest in the natural world, where everyone with eyes can see them. Your body has become a visible argument for the reality of divine favor, and that argument is becoming more persuasive with every month that passes. I need to talk about something that the original explanation of this phenomenon often overlooks. Not everyone who notices your preservation responds with admiration or curiosity. Some people respond with something that feels like hostility. And if you have experienced this, I need you to understand exactly what is actually happening beneath that reaction. When someone who has made choices that are aging them rapidly, depleting them systematically, and diminishing them season by season stands in front of you and sees the evidence of divine preservation radiating from your face and your presence, they are not actually responding to your appearance. They are responding to what your appearance means about theirs. They are being forced in real time to confront the connection between choices and consequences, between alignment and outcome, between the life they have built and the life that is still possible. Your preserved state is a mirror they did not ask to look into. So some people will reach for dismissal. They will find ways to explain you away. They will attribute what they see to genetics, to privilege, to luck, to interventions they assume you are hiding. They will generate theories that allow them to maintain the belief that what you have is not accessible to them, because that belief is the only thing protecting them from having to examine their own choices. Let them build their theories. The preservation operating in your body does not require their acknowledgement to remain active. It is sustained by decree, not by consensus, and in fact, here is the most important thing I can tell you about the opposition you may have encountered from people who should have celebrated your transformation. Their resistance confirms you are operating at a level that makes you dangerous to the systems that thrive on keeping people exhausted, diminished, and convinced that decline is inevitable. If what you are carrying was ordinary, it would provoke no reaction at all. Ordinary things do not threaten anyone. It is the extraordinary that generates extraordinary opposition. So when you encounter hostility in response to your preserved state, do not shrink from it. Do not apologize for it. Do not attempt to make yourself smaller so that someone else can feel more comfortable. Understand instead that you are standing at exactly the right coordinates on the map. The resistance is a landmark, not a barrier. Subscribe to this channel if you want to continue understanding how to navigate the kind of opposition that follows elevated favor, because the teachings coming to this channel are going to go deeper into exactly this territory. Nothing in the spiritual realm is granted without purpose. This is one of the most important principles I can give you, and one of the most misunderstood. Your preservation is not a reward for past faithfulness. Though your faithfulness is honored, it is not a prize for surviving what you survived. Though your survival is acknowledged, your preservation is preparation. It is your body being maintained at the level of vitality required to carry what is coming. And what is coming is significantly larger than where you currently stand in your story. The assignments ahead of you require sustained energy across time frames that would exhaust normal biological capacity. The work that has been designated for your hands demands a level of presence, clarity, and physical endurance that cannot be manufactured from a body that has been depleted by ordinary aging. This is why your body is being kept outside of ordinary timelines. Not because you deserve special treatment in some abstract congratulatory sense, but because the task requires a specific level of instrument, and you have been identified as that instrument. And this changes something fundamental about your responsibility going forward. You are no longer a private individual whose choices affect only your own experience. Your preservation has made you a public reference point. Every person who watches you and cannot explain what they see is standing at a doorway. Some of them are standing at the doorway to a spiritual understanding they have never permitted themselves to explore. Some are standing at the doorway to a decision they have been postponing for years. Some are standing at the doorway to hope, the fragile and specific kind of hope that can only be activated by seeing with physical eyes. Evidence that another way of living is actually possible. You are that evidence. This means the way you handle success will be watched by people who are deciding whether favor makes human beings arrogant or humble. The way you treat people who cannot benefit, you will be studied by minds evaluating whether divine alignment produces generosity or selfishness. The way you respond in moments of genuine challenge will be analyzed by hearts that need to know whether spiritual backing produces strength or fragility. You cannot afford carelessness with your conduct. Not because you will lose your preservation if you make mistakes. Because grace is not that brittle, but because there are people watching you as living evidence. And if your character contradicts your preservation, you will damage something in them that matters far more than your reputation. You will damage their belief in the possibility of a different kind of life. But I want to be clear about something. You will not fail in this responsibility. The same power that maintains your appearance also equips your character. The same intelligence that keeps your face radiating beyond its years also strengthens your judgment and deepens your wisdom. You are not being set up to carry more than you can bear. You are being set up to discover that you can bear far more than you previously believed, and that the bearing of it will not destroy you. It will complete you. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. Now I need to tell you something about the timeline you are operating on. Because this is where the information shifts from explanation into prophecy. Your preservation is not a static condition. It is a progressive transformation that is building momentum with every season that passes. Each month, the gap between how old you are and how old you appear is widening. Each year, the divergence between the life your body has lived and the evidence visible on your face is becoming more pronounced. This is not a slow drift. This is an acceleration, and it is heading toward a specific threshold. There is a point coming in your near future, and I am speaking of months, not decades, when the preservation will reach a level of visibility that eliminates the possibility of rational explanation. When that threshold is crossed, when that manifestation becomes complete, the people who have been quietly building theories about why you look the way you look will find that every theory they constructed has collapsed under the weight of what they are seeing. They will look at you, and there will be no logical explanation accessible to them. They will observe your condition, and there will be no medical framework that accounts for it. They will witness your state, and there will be no treatment or intervention or genetic narrative they can point to as the cause. And in that moment they will have to make a choice. They will either acknowledge that spiritual reality operates in ways that produce physical, measurable, undeniable results, or they will retreat deeper into a denial that requires them to work harder and harder to ignore the evidence standing directly in front of them. Either way, your preservation does not require their choice to continue intensifying. It is already in motion. It already has momentum. It is already on its way to the threshold where argument against it becomes impossible. Here is the sign that this threshold is approaching in your specific life. Within the next 72 hours, you will have an interaction or an encounter. It may be brief. It may seem small. It may come from the most unexpected source, where someone communicates to you directly or indirectly that something about your presence has landed in them in a way they were not prepared for. They may struggle to articulate it. They may express it clumsily. But the communication will carry a quality that you will recognize as something beyond ordinary compliment or casual observation. You will feel it land in your chest as confirmation, and when that happens, you will know that this transmission reached you at exactly the right moment in your story. If you are already sensing that threshold approaching in your life, type 777 in the comments right now. Your declaration activates the frequency of what you are agreeing with. I want to return to Sarah for a moment. After that coffee shop reunion, her college roommate went home and sat in her car for a long time before driving. She did not know exactly what she was feeling. It was not jealousy, though. There was something adjacent to that in the neighborhood. It was something more like grief. The grief of someone who has lived for years inside a story that told her certain things were simply not available to her, and who just spent 2 hours sitting across from living evidence that the story was not true. 2 weeks later, she reached out to Sarah with a very different kind of message. It was not the message of someone comparing herself to another woman. It was the message of someone who had been quietly dismantled and was now carefully reaching towards something they had almost stopped believing in. She said, "I do not know what you have found, but I am ready to start looking for it." This is what your preserved appearance does in the world. It does not compete with people. It does not diminish people. It disrupts the false stories that are keeping people trapped inside diminished versions of their own possibility. And that disruption is one of the most powerful and necessary functions a human being can serve. You are already serving it simply by existing in your current state. But the fullness of your assignment extends beyond the passive testimony of your appearance. You were preserved because you have something specific to carry forward into the world. Something that only you can carry in the exact way, that you will carry it through your particular combination of experience and resilience and perspective and voice, and the preservation of your physical body is the vehicle that will give you the time and the energy and the sustained presence required to carry it all the way to its intended destination. The best version of you is not behind you. It is not even where you currently stand. It is in the territory ahead of you, approaching faster than you think, nearer than you imagine, closer than the most optimistic version of your own projections. And it is arriving in a body that is being prepared to match the magnitude of what it is being asked to carry. Your current preservation, as remarkable as the people around you already find it, is only the preview. The fullness of what you will become when you are operating inside the complete expression of your divine purpose will be so evidently different from ordinary human experience that it will stop being a question of whether something supernatural is operating in your life and become instead a question of how others can begin to access what you carry. Get ready, not because something is coming to frighten you, but because something is coming to fulfill you. Not because preparation requires anxiety, but because preparation requires presence. Stay in the days you are living. Stay faithful to the choices that activated this preservation in the first place. Stay soft where the world is trying to harden you. Stay clear where the world is trying to confuse you. Stay open where the world is trying to close you. Because everything you have walked through brought you to this specific moment, to this specific video, to this specific understanding, and that alignment is not accidental. Before you leave, take this with you. You are not aging like everyone else because you are not designed to. The vitality and light people notice in you is not luck. It is the result of your private faithfulness being recognized by divine intelligence. You are preserved not because you are perfect, but because you are trustworthy. That preservation is permanent, irrevocable, and your full manifestation is inevitable. If this video reached you at the right moment, hit the like button to help this content reach others who are searching for exactly this. Leave a comment sharing what shifted in you today, because your words will speak to someone who needs them. Subscribe and turn on all notifications to continue going deeper into what it means to walk in visible divine favor. Share this video with someone who needs the language for what they are already experiencing. The next video on your screen continues this conversation. Watch it now while this truth is still fresh in your spirit. Chosen one, now you know, and knowing changes everything. Chosen ones, stop everything right now. What I'm about to share may shake you. It's a divine message that must be heard. It's meant to wake you up. If you're watching this right now, don't call it luck. God Himself has guided you to this moment because you are standing at the threshold of a massive shift. Heaven is speaking and the message is unmistakable. The collapse has begun. Listen closely. When God speaks of collapse, He means more than failing systems or broken structures. The deeper collapse is spiritual. It is the fall of illusions, false security, and everything built apart from God. This is not the world ending. It is God making room for what comes next. And you are meant to be ready, not watching from the sidelines. Your life has felt like progress and resistance at the same time for a reason. Doors closed, yet your spirit knew there was more. You grew in silence, carried unseen battles, and learned endurance when quitting seemed easier. None of it was wasted. God was shaping and aligning you. New things rarely arrive gently. They come with shaking, and you can feel the shift now. This is not just change. It is awakening. What you prayed for is already moving. Not later, but now. And when God moves, you cannot drift. When he speaks, you cannot be careless. When heaven opens, you must pay attention. Before we go deeper, take a brief moment and do 3 simple things, because this message is not meant to sit quietly and die in a corner. Hit the like button, subscribe to help us reach 40,000 subscribers, and leave a comment with the number 99 as a sign that you're here, that you're locked in, and that you're receiving this word with intention. Now listen closely, because if you're truly one of the chosen, you'll stay to the end. Something in you recognizes that this is for you. The truth is, many people won't. Some will feel uneasy and click away, not because the message is wrong, but because conviction makes the unprepared uncomfortable. But for those who remain, I'm telling you plainly, your life will not stay the same. God has spoken, the collapse has begun, and it's time to prepare. The world as we know it is crumbling, and it's happening in real time. This is not a slow rumor, not a distant headline, not a story for other people. The shaking is here. And again, this is not only about society. This is about the soul. As chaos spreads, it will shake foundations not just of nations but of identities. People who built their confidence on money, popularity, relationships, or control will find themselves terrified when those things can no longer hold them up. That's why this is not a simple moment of difficulty. This is a divine alarm. Scripture shows us that God shakes what can be shaken, so what cannot be shaken will remain. Once more I will shake not only the earth, but also the heavens, so that what cannot be shaken may remain. Hebrews 12:26-27. That means some things are falling because they were never meant to be your foundation. Some doors are slamming because they were never meant to be your future. Some supports are snapping because God refuses to let your destiny rest on something unstable. And the question in this moment is not, is it happening? The question is, are you ready? Because the collapse will touch everyone. It will shake nations and households alike. Some will deny it. Some will mock it. Some will keep distracting themselves, laughing louder to avoid hearing the cracking beneath their feet. But within the chaos, there is a promise for the chosen ones. Protection, guidance, and purpose. Not because you are better than anyone, but because you belong to God and you are willing to be led by Him. Still, do not misunderstand what divine protection means. Protection does not mean you will feel nothing. It does not mean you will never face pressure. It means you will not be destroyed by what destroys others. It means you will not lose your mind in the storm. It means you will be covered even when everything is shaking. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. He is my refuge and my fortress. Psalm 91:1-2. That refuge is real, but it's not a decorative promise. It's a place you live from, a place you return to daily, a place you abide. And with this protection comes responsibility. Stand firm. Hold your ground. Refuse to be swept away by fear. Refuse to follow the false promises of human leaders and human systems. This collapse will not simply change your routine. It will expose hearts. It will reveal what people truly worship. Many will lose their way chasing comfort, clinging to whoever speaks the smoothest words, whoever offers the fastest fix, whoever claims they can restore normal. But the chosen ones are called to a higher purpose and a deeper faith. Because this season will test loyalty like never before. Some of you have already felt the early tremors. You've noticed how quickly people switch sides. You've seen how fast morals change when it benefits someone. You've watched truth become negotiable and conviction become rare. And now, as the collapse intensifies, the tests will become sharper. Will you rise or will you fold? Will you stand or will you blend in? Will you keep your eyes on God when the crowd insists you should keep your eyes on panic? God has made it clear what is coming will shock you, and it will shock the world. Some events on the horizon will be unlike anything you have seen before. Not because God enjoys chaos, but because humanity has grown comfortable with compromise. And comfort often has to be interrupted before people will listen. Jesus warned that there would be days when you would hear of wars and rumors of wars. And he said, "See to it that you are not alarmed." Matthew 24:6. That doesn't mean ignore reality. It means don't surrender your spirit to fear. While many will be in panic, confusion, and uncertainty, the chosen are called to stand firm in the face of darkness. This is not a time to hesitate, waiting for the world to approve your faith. This is a time to act, to anchor, to prepare. Think about history. When nations were shaken to their core, when economies collapsed, when fear swept through cities, those moments separated real faith from borrowed faith. Those moments revealed who had oil in their lamp and who only had a religious costume. And in the coming days, you will face similar tests, moments where your commitment to God will be questioned and your endurance will be stretched. So hear this clearly. Prepare yourself now, because what is coming will be both shocking and profound. The world will not understand it. Many will not be able to bear it. But those who are prepared, those who trust God's plan, will carry peace into the storm. Not a fake peace, not denial, not pretending everything is fine, but the kind of peace that comes from knowing who holds the future. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear though the earth give way. Psalm 46:1-2. That is what you're being invited into, unshakable faith in a shaking world. Do not wait for the world to explain what's happening. The world will always interpret spiritual shifts with shallow language. It will call it politics, trends, cycles, psychology, economics, anything except what it is. But you have been given discernment for a reason. Trust the divine guidance you've already received. The collapse is not a distant possibility. It is a certainty, and it is already unfolding. The stability of society, the trust in leadership, the faith in human systems, it's cracking. You can feel it. People are restless. Souls are tired. Hearts are anxious. And as it unfolds, people will scramble for answers, clinging to whatever they think will protect them. But you chosen ones have been given something greater than worldly stability. You have been given faith, and faith is not weak. Faith is not naive. Faith is not a cute phrase people put on a mug. Faith is a force. It holds you steady when everything else collapses. It gives you clarity when the world is confused. It anchors you when emotions surge like waves. Still, this does not mean you sit idle. This is the hour to prepare your heart, mind, and spirit. Fortify yourself for trials ahead. Build habits that hold you up under pressure. Stay grounded in prayer, rooted in Scripture, and committed to righteousness. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. Proverbs 3:5-6. When paths become confusing, that promise becomes your road map. Chosen ones, there is an undeniable truth. God's hand is upon you. But again, protection is not a license for laziness. It requires preparation, faith, and action. You might feel peace right now, but don't confuse peace with the absence of struggle. God's peace often sits on top of a battlefield. It doesn't remove the fight. It steadies you inside it. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and self-control. 2 Timothy 1:7. That means fear is not your portion. Panic is not your identity. Confusion is not your inheritance, and the protection you receive is not only for you. It is to equip you to help others. You are being positioned to be a beacon. When darkness thickens, God does not hide his people. He sends them. When confusion spreads, God raises voices of truth. When fear becomes common, God highlights courage. Your stability is meant to become someone else's lifeline. As the collapse deepens, many will turn to human leaders for answers. They will chase politicians, influencers, public figures, and self-proclaimed saviors who promise security. And yes, it will be tempting because human voices are loud and constant, and fear makes people desperate. But hear God's warning. Do not put any human voice above him. Human leaders are limited. Human wisdom breaks under pressure. Human promises fade with time, but God is eternal. This is why you must keep your eyes on God, even when the world seems to be falling apart. This collapse will expose the fragility of worldly power and remind everyone that only God's kingdom stands forever. When people shout opinions, seek God's counsel. When the world says hurry, God often says be still. When the crowd says compromise, God says stand firm. When the world offers quick comfort, God offers lasting truth. And yes, you will be tested. The chosen ones are facing a test that challenges the core of belief. In uncertainty, doubt will knock loudly. The temptation to follow the crowd will feel strong, especially when the crowd looks confident. People will ask, why do you keep believing? Some will ask with curiosity, some with mockery, some with anger. But you must be ready to answer with quiet strength, not arrogance. My faith is in God, not in the shifting promises of the world. There will be moments that push you to the brink. People will question your convictions. They will label your faith. They will try to shame you for trusting God. Some will even attempt to lure you into compromise with the promise of comfort or acceptance. But remember this, trials refine faith. The testing of your faith produces perseverance. James 1:3. What you survive with integrity becomes evidence that God is real. As the collapse continues, anti-God movements will grow louder. Forces will rise that undermine faith, mock holiness, and challenge God's authority. They will speak with confidence. They will present themselves as enlightened. They will try to persuade believers that faith is outdated, that scripture is optional, that truth is whatever society decides. And some people wanting to fit in will agree. But you must remember this is not new. In every generation, there have been voices that tried to pull people away from God. These movements will use logic and worldly wisdom to make their case. But logic without humility can become a weapon of pride. The truth of God does not bend to trends. The truth of God is eternal. So do not let the voices of the world drown out the voice of God. Stay connected to Scripture. Stay active in prayer. Stay accountable. Stay humble. Stay alert. Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. Resist him standing firm in the faith. 1 Peter 5:5-8-9. The roaring is meant to intimidate you. Don't confuse noise with power. And then there is this. The shift is coming, and it will be instant. One moment things will look like they're holding together, and the next moment everything will change. What people assumed was stable will crumble, and what truly matters will stand exposed in plain view. Many will be shocked, unsure where to turn, scrambling to regain control. But for those prepared, that moment will not be the end. It will be a rise. It will be clarity. It will be a chance to shine brighter, because you will have built your life on something real. Values will be questioned. Norms will be overturned. Comfort will be interrupted. and the collapse will bring a new reality that forces difficult decisions. Will you stand firm or will you be swept away? This is why I'm telling you now with urgency and love. Get your heart right with God now. Forgive quickly, repent sincerely. Let go of hidden sin. Break agreement with compromise. Clean your spiritual house not in shame but in freedom, because you're preparing for a holy assignment. The days ahead will be dark. People will look for answers everywhere except God. Confusion and fear will spread fast like wildfire, because fear is contagious when truth is absent. And in those days you may feel isolated, like no one understands why you won't bend, why you won't panic, why you won't join the crowd in whatever new belief is trending. But you are not alone. God has always preserved a remnant. God has always strengthened his people in secret before using them in public. Even in the deepest darkness, God's light shines, and you are called to carry it. You are the light of the world. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Matthew 5:14-16. That is not a metaphor meant for quiet days. That is a command for difficult days. Your steady faith will become a sign to the confused that peace is possible. As the collapse unfolds, many will abandon their faith. Pressure will feel too heavy. Disappointment will tempt them to believe God failed them. Some will place their trust in human systems, hoping money, status, technology, or ideology can replace God. But this is where your faith will be tested. Will you hold fast when others walk away? This moment is not only a test of belief, it's a test of endurance. It's not just do you love God, it's will you keep loving God when it costs you. It's will you keep trusting God when you do not understand. It's will you keep obeying God when the crowd rewards compromise, and the answer you choose will shape your destiny in the coming days. Let me say it plainly. We are standing at the edge of defining days. The question is no longer abstract. It is personal. Will you stand strong or will you fall behind? The pressure to conform will be intense. The desire to be accepted will tug at hearts. But this is your moment to rise. This is your moment to choose God not as a label, but as Lord. And when the world looks for answers in human leaders, when politicians and influencers step forward promising solutions, you must hold to what is true. Human promises are fragile. God is unshakable. His word stands. His presence remains. His power does not expire. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Isaiah 41:10. That is your anchor when the headlines scream. In the midst of chaos, God is calling you to rise and shine. Not because you are perfect, but because you are His. You are not meant to be a passive observer. You are called to be a witness, a living testimony that faith is real, that God still saves, that truth still stands. When the world watches and wonders how you can remain steady, let your life answer louder than your mouth ever could. This is also why spiritual resilience is your greatest asset. Resilience is built before the storm peaks. It is built in prayer when no one sees. It is built in scripture when you could be distracted. It is built in worship when you feel tired. It is built in obedience when compromise would be easier. It is built in surrender when pride wants control. Resilience means you remain rooted even when you feel the shaking. And when anxiety tries to rise, remember what God offers instead. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God will guard your hearts and your minds. Philippians 4:6-7. Guarded minds are rare in chaotic seasons. That's why prayer is not optional. It is warfare. It is alignment. it is oxygen. Because the battle ahead is not mainly physical. It is spiritual. The enemy's greatest goal is not to break your body, but to poison your faith. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the spiritual forces of evil. Ephesians 6:12. That means you cannot fight this season with human tools alone. You need spiritual armor, spiritual discipline, spiritual clarity. You need truth, righteousness, faith, salvation, the Word of God, and prayer that doesn't quit. Chosen ones, your faith is not just comfort in the collapse. It is your weapon in the collapse. Faith moves, faith resists, faith endures. Faith sees beyond what is visible. Faith allows you to stand in the middle of a storm and still say, God is good and God is faithful and God is with me. Jesus said, in this world, you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. John 16:33. Overcome means the outcome is decided even if the process is still unfolding. So when the world says you can't stand, God says stand. When the world says give up, God says hold on. When the world says it's hopeless, God says watch what I do. When the world says choose comfort, God says choose truth. When the world says save yourself, God says lose your life for my sake and you will find it. And as you stand, you will lead by example whether you realize it or not. In times of crisis, actions speak louder than words. People are searching for hope, for truth, for stability. Your life can become a signpost. Your calm can become a question. Your integrity can become a mirror. Your joy can become a mystery that draws people toward God. Real leadership is proven in adversity when it would be easy to fold, easy to complain, easy to compromise. Your example is not for your glory. It is for God's glory. It is not about being seen. It is about helping the lost find their way. And yes, you will meet people who are confused, angry, cynical, worn out. Some will be bitter. Some will be broken. Some will be searching but too proud to admit it. This is where your compassion matters. This is where your patience matters. This is where your steady faith becomes ministry, because God will use you as a light in places you never expected to stand. Now hear this. The collapse is only the beginning. What is coming is not the end. It is the dawn of a new era, a refining season that separates what is true from what is fake, what is holy from what is hollow, what is eternal from what is temporary. The collapse will act like fire, burning away what cannot last and strengthening what is real. That is why the chosen ones will not only survive, they will grow, they will mature, they will become brave, they will become clear, they will become effective. This new era will bring challenges, but it will also bring purpose. It will bring assignment. It will bring divine opportunities that only appear when old systems fail. This is not the time to shrink back. This is the time to step forward in humility and strength. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the battle is not yours, but God's. 2 Chronicles 20:15. That does not mean you do nothing. It means you fight from the right place with the right posture under the right authority. And in all of it, keep your mind anchored, keep your heart guarded, keep your spirit aligned. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. Isaiah 26:3. Steadfast minds are built by steadfast habits. You will not drift into strength. You will choose it daily. So yes, the world is in turmoil. Yes, the storm is here. Yes, the collapse has begun. But hear me, this is not a time for fear. It is a time for action. It is a time to return to God with sincerity. It is a time to deepen your roots. It is a time to sharpen your discernment. It is a time to strengthen your prayer life. It is a time to rebuild your foundation on truth. It is a time to stay ready. In the coming days, many will falter. Many will fall. Many will abandon their faith because they built their belief on comfort instead of conviction. But you have been chosen to remain. You have been called to endure. You have been set apart to carry light when others only carry panic. You are not alone. God is with you. And when you feel tired, when you feel misunderstood, when you feel pressure, remember, let us not become weary in doing good. For at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Galatians 6:7-9. This is your time to rise as a beacon of hope. This is your time to remain unshaken when the world shakes. This is your time to hold to God's promises when the crowd sells theirs away. This is your time to stay faithful when it would be easier to blend in. The collapse is not the end. It is the beginning of something greater. It is the beginning of exposure. Yes, but also the beginning of awakening. It is the beginning of shaking. Yes, but also the beginning of building. It is the beginning of pruning. Yes, but also the beginning of fruit. So, keep your eyes on God. Keep your heart clean. Keep your mind steady. Keep your faith strong. And if you've stayed to this point, let it be a sign to you your spirit was built for this season. You were not called to collapse with the collapsing world. You were called to stand. You were called to shine. You were called to endure. And God, who began a good work in you, will not abandon it. Hold on to what you have. Stay ready. Stay alert. Stay close to God. I am coming soon. Hold on to what you have so that no one will take your crown. Revelation 3:11. The storm may roar, but your foundation can remain. The collapse may deepen, but your faith can rise. The world may shake, but the chosen ones will stand. Not because they are strong on their own, but because God is faithful and He will carry you through. You are about to enter your divine future. But remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary where we discuss the Word daily and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." On this platform, every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall, share your heart, and as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit our community now, join the family, and see your heavens open. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected, faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment, a place where divine abundance is not just a hope, but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits.